This is VOA News. I'm Marissa Melton. The Philippines has reported the first death outside of China in the coronavirus epidemic that has killed more than 300 people and spread to 24 nations. Reuters' David Doyle reports China is concerned the spread of the virus will have an impact on its economy.
China on Sunday ramped up measures to contain the coronavirus epidemic and shore up the economy against its effects, as the first death from the illness was reported outside the country. A 44-year-old Chinese man from Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, died in the Philippines on Saturday, the Department of Health said. The Philippines has expanded its travel ban to include all foreigners coming from China, and Beijing is facing mounting isolation as other countries introduce similar travel restrictions. Airlines suspend flights, and governments evacuate their citizens. That risks worsening a slowdown in the world's second-largest economy. China's central bank said it will inject $173.8 billion worth of liquidity into the markets on Monday, as the country prepares to reopen its stock markets following an extended Lunar New Year holiday.
Reuters' David Doyle reporting. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is urging Kazakhstan to join Washington in pressing Beijing over its treatment of Muslim minorities. The United Nations estimates up to 2 million people, mostly ethnic Uyghur Muslims, have been detained in harsh conditions as part of what Beijing calls an anti-terrorism campaign. Speaking with reporters, Pompeo talked about the importance of Kazakhstan for U.S. foreign policy.
I also talked about the Trump administration's forthcoming Central Asia strategy, which puts your independence and prosperity at the core of our approach.
Earlier, Pompeo met families of ethnic Kazakhs detained in China and praised Kazakhstan for not forcing asylum seekers to return to China. From Washington, you're listening to VOA News. The World Food Program is warning millions of people in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso do not have enough to eat and are in desperate and immediate need of food aid. Lisa Schlein reports for VOA from Geneva.
A recent UN food assessment in the Central Sahel finds 3.3 million people are going hungry, a rise of nearly 1 million since last year. Hunger is wreaking havoc on the nutritional status of people in these countries. The UN Children's Fund reports more than 700,000 children under 5 suffer from life-threatening severe acute malnutrition. WFP is working to scale up its humanitarian operation to assist 2 million people across the 3 Sahelian countries. It is urgently appealing for 200 saving food aid over the next 6 months. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
Police officers in South London have shot and killed a man who wounded at least 3 people in what officials are calling terrorism-related stabbings. AP's Sarah Bassett from London.
The Metropolitan Police Force have been quick to declare the violence as terrorism-related. Witnesses have reported seeing the man wearing what looked like a suicide vest. Kaka Tahir says armed police told him to evacuate the scene.
It's like a movie. It was so quick and it was like a panic.
The attack in the Streatham neighbourhood marks a departure from recent attacks in the British capital that took place in high-profile landmarks in central London. 2 months ago, 2 people were stabbed on London Bridge by a man who had recently been released from prison, where he was serving a 16-year sentence for plotting a terror attack. Sarah Bassett, London.
Democratic candidates are racing across the state of Iowa today in a last-minute flurry of rallies and handshakes ahead of Monday's caucuses. They're the official start of the U.S. presidential election season. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has a busy week ahead with the final vote on impeachment coming up and the annual State of the Union address Tuesday night. Polls suggest an odd split among Americans. AP's Ben Thomas has more.
An Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs research poll in December found Americans identified the economy, health care, immigration, and the environment as top issues for the government to address in 2020. But few expected much progress. Just 2 in 10 said they were satisfied with the way things are going, while nearly 6 in 10 were dissatisfied. And more expected things to get worse, not better. But in a January poll, 56% of respondents approved of the president's handling of the economy. 2/3 said the economy was in good shape, and only about a quarter expected it to worsen over the next year. Ben Thomas, Washington.
I'm Marissa Melton. You're listening to VOA News.